Liverpool ready to make major Arne Slot decision. Liverpool prepare to sack Arne Slot as patience finally runs out. Liverpool are preparing to sack Arne Slot, bringing a premature end to a managerial experiment that was meant to signal renewal but has instead exposed the limits of modern football's patience. Less than a year after his appointment, the Dutch coach appears set to depart Anfield, a decision that reflects not just results, but a growing sense that the project itself never truly took root. Reports emerging from Spain, including coverage by Fichajes, indicate that the club's hierarchy have already made the decision. Slot's exit is expected to be confirmed imminently, with Liverpool moving swiftly to limit further damage to a season that has drifted away from its original ambition. Arne Slot and an idea that never settled. When Arne Slot arrived at Liverpool, he brought with him a reputation forged in the Netherlands: progressive football, tactical clarity and an ability to impose structure without stifling creativity. He was presented as a coach suited to the modern elite game, someone capable of refreshing Liverpool's identity without tearing it down. The reality has been less convincing. While there have been moments of coherence, they have been fleeting. Liverpool have too often looked like a team trying to remember what they're supposed to be, rather than one instinctively playing to a shared idea. The football has lacked rhythm, the performances have lacked authority, and the results have followed suit. Slot was backed heavily in the transfer market, a point repeatedly underlined in the original reporting from Fichajes.net. Significant investment was made with the expectation of an immediate return to the Premier League's sharp end. Instead, Liverpool find themselves adrift of the title race, marooned in fourth place and separated from the leaders by a margin that feels both statistical and psychological. Liverpool standards and the weight of expectation. Managing Liverpool is not simply about winning matches. It is about convincing everyone watching that there is a plan, that progress is inevitable even when results wobble. That conviction never fully formed under Slot. Anfield has seen tactical tweaks, positional experiments and repeated reshuffles, but little in the way of a settled identity. Defensive fragility has been a constant companion, while in attack the team has too often looked reliant on moments rather than mechanisms. This is where the conversation around the sack of Arne Slot becomes less brutal and more revealing. Liverpool's decision is not just a reaction to league position. It is an acknowledgement that the club's internal sense of direction has become blurred. In elite football, uncertainty is often more dangerous than failure. Sack reflects modern football realities. The speed with which Liverpool are moving to sack Arne Slot underlines a wider truth about the modern game. Time is a luxury few managers are granted, even those arriving with impressive credentials and a mandate for change. The 14-point gap to the league leaders, highlighted in Spanish reports, has been decisive. For Liverpool's board, that distance represents not just dropped points but diminishing belief. The fear is not simply missing out on silverware, but drifting into a cycle of managed decline, where each week becomes an exercise in damage limitation. As Fichajes.net notes, Liverpool's hierarchy are already assessing potential replacements, searching for a figure capable of restoring clarity and competitiveness at speed. Whoever follows Slot will inherit a talented squad, but also the immediate burden of expectation. What Arne Slot leaves behind. If and when the sack is confirmed, Arne Slot's time at Liverpool will be remembered as a lesson rather than a legacy. It will stand as a reminder that investment alone does not guarantee cohesion, and that ideas, however sound in theory, must be absorbed quickly to serve. At this level, for Liverpool, the focus now shifts to repair. The season can still be stabilized, but only if decisiveness off the pitch is matched by authority on it. For Slot, the experience will likely sharpen rather than diminish his reputation elsewhere. Not every failure is terminal, even if it feels abrupt. At Anfield, though, the conclusion appears unavoidable. Liverpool are ready to sack Arne Slot, closing a chapter defined by promise, pressure and an unforgiving league that rarely waits for anyone to catch up. The cost of sacking Arne Slot. Whether or not Liverpool actually do part ways with the Dutchman before the end of 2025-26 remains to be seen. Should they do so, It will cost them a decent fee, but one that could be recouped by the Reds climbing a few places in the Premier League. Finance expert Adam Williams spoke to Rousing the Cop about the cost of sacking Slot late in 2025. He said, "The conventional wisdom is that, in order to sack a manager, you have to pay out the remainder of their contract. On that basis, you'd be looking at £15 million or thereabouts to give Slot the boot. However, the reality is usually a lot more nuanced than that. There will likely be provisions in his contract that protect the club if, for example, if they're drastically underperforming on the pitch. There might also be a pre-agreed termination clause. These factors can work in the manager's favor or the club's. There's no way of knowing for sure without having the contract in front of us. But either way, the cost of sacking Slot, or indeed appointing a new manager, won't be a consideration or FSG. They have invested a lot in him and his plans and, fundamentally, it will be a football decision, albeit one rooted in the eventual return on investment FSG are eventually destined to get at Liverpool. Let's say the cost is £15 million. That is the amount that you get in prize money for finishing roughly 5 places higher in the Premier League. Even if you finish 1 or 2 places higher than you would have done otherwise but make it into the Champions League as a result, that's about £80 million in extra revenue virtually guaranteed. Teams are finding it too easy to stop them, with Liverpool drawing the last 2 games against teams, with all due respect, who they should be beating. A lot needs to change and Liverpool legend John Aldridge thinks he knows where Arne Slot should start, with the former street Ika believing that they have the new Michael Owen just wasting away on the bench. John Aldridge urges Arne Slot to play Rio Numoha more due to his unpredictability. One player who was hyped up massively in the summer and looked like he would get a fair few minutes was Rio Numoha, but this has not been the case. He has played just 48 minutes in the Premier League and has come off the bench just once in Liverpool's last 8 league games, showing how he is not even getting a chance. However, with Liverpool being far too predictable and easy to defend against, Aldridge reckons it is time for He's 17-year-old to start getting more minutes, even making an Owen comparison in the process. We're too predictable and easy to play against. Rio Numoha is one of those players. If you bring him on for 15 minutes, teams don't know how to play against him, he wrote in his column for the Liverpool EC. What he does, no one knows. He probably doesn't even know. He's unpredictable. He has pace and trickery and can hurt teams. Jerrad, Rooney, Owen, Fowler, they all played at that age. Maybe Arne is trying to protect him by using him sparingly. We've not seen much of him this season, but if you're good enough, you're old enough. I would like to see him used more.